Jim Harbaugh loves the offensive line, and we all know that, and he's been very clear about how that is the position group that he values the highest. And he has also been very adamant that he wants the Chargers offensive line to be dominant, physical, and maulers in the run game while also protecting his quarterback, his most valuable asset, Justin Herbert, not freaking JJ McCarthy. Don't even think about that. But this week, he had a lot of really interesting things to say about this offensive line and how he wants to approach this position group heading into next year. And I think what he says, it might actually surprise you. So make sure to like and subscribe if you do enjoy this content, man. It helps me out so much. And now let me just start off with him talking about why he values the offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, the offensive line to me is important. What position group depends on no other position group to be good, but every other position group depends on them to be good? You know, what position group is that? Offensive line. They're not relying on any other position group to be good. They go out and they're good, but yet every other position group relies on the offensive line to be good.
So that reasoning, to me, it makes total sense. The offensive line is basically the most pivotal position in all of football, man. I mean, like the position group offensive line, because if you can't block and pass protect, then you're not going to be able to throw the ball. The quarterback can't throw. The receivers can't catch. And then if the offensive line can't block in the run game, the running backs can't run. And, you know, you can't do anything on offense without the offensive line blocking those defensive players. And then on the other side of the ball, if you are on defense and your offensive line can't block, your offense can't sustain drives. And so your defense is on the field way more often. They get gassed. They're way more susceptible to give up those big plays because there's obviously more opportunities for the other team's offense to play against your defense and make big plays. So this argument about the offensive line being the most important position group, he's totally valid in saying that, and I actually agree with him, and it's specifically in the run game, because he says here,
and then the D-line, they'll be the ones that argue back. We don't need the offensive line to be good. Do you like when the offense has a 12-play drive and you know the field position? Yeah, oh yeah, okay, you're right. You know, it's like building that kind of offensive line. That's exciting. You know, can't wait to do that.
The offensive line is the most important position group in football. Jim Harbaugh recognizes that, but it also is the most difficult position group to get right. And I think the reason for that is just so complicated. And that entire unit, if they are not playing cohesively and they don't have good chemistry, even just one of those guys, if they do not have good chemistry with whoever's next to him, it can ruin your entire offensive line. I mean, we saw it just this past season when Corey Linsley went down and we inserted Will Clapp. And then after that, Brendan Hymus was the starting center. This offensive line was nowhere near as good. Once you took Corey Linsley out of the lineup, you know, Will Clapp is not calling protections. He's not pointing out linebackers like, hey, this 53 is the mic. You know what I mean? He's not calling out who might be blitzing. And also, this past season, we saw a lot of trouble with stunt moves, specifically on that left side of the offensive line, man. Zion Johnson struggled with it all year. It was Will Clapp and Zion Johnson on that interior that was just getting worked. You saw it in the Dolphins game, and you saw it in the Titans. You saw it all year. And now when it comes to the Chargers offensive line, I don't think we're actually in a terrible position. We have left tackle Rashawn Slater, bookend guy. I mean, he's probably going to get extended within these next like 8 months. And then you have left guard Zion Johnson. Both of those guys are former first-round picks, high pedigree, someone that you want to get the most out of. Obviously, this is a new regime. They don't care about who was a first-round pick, but still, it just shows that he had potential coming out of college, so much so that he was a first-round pick. And then the center, we just signed Bradley Bozeman. That's where it gets a little iffy. We got that left side locked down, but then center, we don't know if Bradley Bozeman is going to start. It's going to be a competition in training camp for sure. And then right guard, kind of open right now. And right tackle, I think it's probably going to be Trey Pipkins for at least this season, unless there's someone drafted. But listen to what Jim Harbaugh had to say about the guys that we have right now on the offensive line.
Yeah, I think they're really good. I think they're really willing. You know, and then, you know, just that mentality of that group. I mean, you know, that's like a fist. You know, there's 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, playing playing as one on that offensive line. I look at them, Rashawn, really good. Excited about Zion. Bradley Bozeman signed him. Salyer, Pipkins.
So I think it's interesting that he started off saying Rashawn Slater, Zion Johnson. I like those guys. And then he just says, hey, yeah, we signed Bradley Bozeman, Jamaree Salyer, Trey Pipkins. He didn't praise them like he praised Rashawn Slater and Zion Johnson. I think obviously it's because those spots are going to be in competition. And a lot of people think because Jim Harbaugh values the offensive line so highly and because of the uncertainty in the Chargers' right side of the offensive line, that, hey, if the Chargers pick at 5th overall, they're probably still going to draft an offensive lineman, right? Because whole new regime, Harbaugh ball, you need really good offensive linemen. Best offensive lineman in this draft would be there at 5. It would be Joe Alt. I don't think that would happen for 2 reasons. The first reason is there was a report that came out. Benjamin Albright said Joe Alt probably not their guy. Now, listen, it's lying season, so maybe that's true. Maybe it's not, whatever. But I also went back and I looked it up. Joe Alt played on the left side of the offensive line all the way back into high school. And while I don't think that's something that's like really important to them, I don't think they'd have a problem moving him over to the right side. I just don't think that they would pick him at 5 considering the other options that are available, especially when you consider a trade down. If the Chargers do pick at 5, you look at Joe Hortiz and his history with the Ravens, they do truly pick best player available. You can just look at the Kyle Hamilton pick. He was a safety. And who's going to be best player available at 5? It's obviously going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors, whoever is there and whoever you value higher. Also, it wouldn't surprise me if they go for like Terrion Arnold or Brock Bowers, but that's kind of, a little bit under the rug right now. And I don't think that Jim Harbaugh is just going to like strong arm his way into forcing the Chargers to pick offensive line at 5 no matter what. You go get Joe Alt. Because in his press conference, he said that, hey, I'm going to be Batman during the season. Joe Hortiz, he's going to be Batman during the offseason. So obviously, he trusts Joe Hortiz. And Joe Hortiz, if he picks at 5, he will be picking best player available, probably a receiver. But when they go into a trade down scenario, possibly at 11, at the 11th pick, it wouldn't shock me to see an offensive lineman because that not only fits what Jim Harbaugh wants to do, look like Talize Fuanga at 11, but it would also fit very nicely with best player available. There's a lot of good offensive linemen. It wouldn't shock me to see J.C. Latham, Talize Fuanga, Amarius Mims even at 11. All of those guys I think are Harbaugh dudes and would slot in very nicely at right tackle. And then boom, Trey Pipkins, he's a backup. And now one thing that was really interesting to me is that he shouted out Jordan McFadden, said he really liked him. Listen to this.
I really like McFadden too. He's versatile. You love guys that are versatile like that. And we'll see, it's to be determined, Have seen the tape, but that's not everything to me. I mean, I see McFadden as a possible center too. He's got versatility. He's got the athleticism, he's got the feet, he's got intelligence and intangibles, I've been told. There's all kind of possibilities but hey, we all gotta get together here in the same room and al natural, we'll go about it.
Now, I love that Jim Harbaugh is shouting out Jordan McFadden because I was big on him towards the end of last season. He made those 2 starts. Just listen to what I said in this video after the Week 17 game against the Broncos, which was his first start. But I was really impressed with Jordan McFadden stepping up in the place of Zion Johnson. In his very first play, he got a pancake and he continued to play well throughout the entire game. And honestly, he played just as well as Zion Johnson would have, and maybe even a little bit better because he didn't let up any pressures or a sack from a stunt move, just like Zion has been, susceptible to this entire season. Those stunt move blitzes, he always lets those up. And we might actually have a good problem starting in this interior of this offensive line if Jordan McFadden continues to impress on the field and Zion Johnson can't get out on the field because of an injury. Because then we have 3 guards that I would like to see playing time from: Jordan McFadden, Zion Johnson, yes, I still want to see him being on the field, and then also Jamaree Salyer, the right guard. And then if that's the case, we got those 3 guys we want to see on the field, then maybe is it possible that one of them can snap the ball and then we have one of them play center? I don't know, bro. Hey, I know that Tom Telesco loves versatile offensive linemen, so we have a lot of versatile guys on our team. Is it possible that one of them gets a try at center for next season? I don't know, but I do want to see all three of those guys in some sort of playing time. Look at that, man. I was, bro, can I get a little pat on the back there? I said that I wanted to see him at center, and now we actually might see him at center. But really, the competition on this offensive line, the way I see it right now, it's at center and right guard. I think Trey Pipkins, he does have that kind of locked up right now at right tackle, unless we do draft Talize Fuanga, or really like any tackle in the first round or second round, even third round maybe. When I went back and watched Jordan McFadden, he did look pretty good, and I even thought he might have looked better than Zion Johnson at times this past season, which, you know, he was a rookie. Jordan McFadden was a rookie. He's got a lot of versatility as well. Jim Harbaugh even said he was an intelligent player. He's got a lot of intangibles. He's got quick feet, which he does. I noticed that he can get to the second level pretty well. When he's in pass protection, he's got his head on a swivel a lot, and even so much so that sometimes he just completely turns himself around, but he's always looking for action. In the run game, he is definitely a road grader, just completely washing defenders away. One thing that he does struggle with was, and also I watched that Week 18 game where he played against Chris Jones. He did struggle in that one. Obviously, it was against Chris Jones, but where he does struggle in pass protection is with power. When someone just tries to forklift him, he doesn't really set his base well, and he will get pushed all the way back. He needs to anchor himself better, and I think his problem is leverage. If he gets a little bit lower and he just sets his base and pushes upward rather than pushing downwards, kind of like he does in the run game, then he would be a lot better in pass protection. But honestly, I'm like kind of stoked that I saw this towards the end of last season. Jim Harbaugh goes back and watches the tape, sees exactly what I saw. I love it. That's that's cool to me. So the competition, I guess, at center right now, before the draft, is Jordan McFadden and Bradley Bozeman competing for those snaps. But like I said, the draft, we're definitely going to be addressing offensive line. Just depends on how that fifth pick goes, whether they trade down or what, on where it is. And Jim Harbaugh actually did talk about that fifth pick a lot yesterday. In this video, you can hear everything that Jim Harbaugh had to say outside of the offensive line.